Van Halen pedal board, Van Halen 1 specifically. As always, brought to you by Three Monkeys Solderless, home of the world's best cables for your stuff. As seen on this board, so we got the DC, right? We got the audio, as seen on this board. Real nice stuff. And we've also got the RCA, right? For your, I know you guys out there got like turntables and you got like car stereos, and you do well wiring your stuff up with this because it's really easy. It's great sounding. And for your car, it's double insulated, right? Double shielded with Mylar and braid so that you can have a noise-free signal going from your head unit to your amplifier. All right, so where last left off, we did the we had done the phase flipper box, right, which I think bore some fruit. I don't know whether it's going to be 100% necessary for this board build, but I think it's going to be useful as a a kind of a useful tool to have around. I think especially when if go back into the fair warning stuff where we have multiple parallel signals. 3 of them, I think, was the last count that I was using between eventides, dry, and things of that nature. Delay only signals, the harmonized, the pitch change signal, and a dry signal. That flipping a phase on one of those could be entirely useful. So I think we're going to have some use for that going on. But today what I thought we would do is work on the echo. Right, so we're trying to make something like the echo at the end of Eruption, which he used, that thing that I got upstairs, the Univox echo, which is a tape echo, which is fussy and all that kind of stuff. So there's probably a better echo unit out there. In fact, someone had turned me on to one that had an expression pedal. So I'm going to eventually replace this echo rec with that unit. I think it was a Boss of some kind, maybe. But for now, we're just going to use the echo rec as a placeholder until we get to that point. I mean, we're just kind of trying theories here with this pedal board. So, things are going to be quick and dirty. We're going to try out ideas, throw some spaghetti around, see what sticks to things and what doesn't. And if it sticks, we clean it up a little better. If it doesn't stick, we haven't wasted a lot of time. Eventually, I think we're going to have to go to a different board to put more units on there. If we're going to put the phase flipper on there, I want to also have a breakout box. So I think putting these Echoplex, which was actually what we did last time, put these echo units after the aux stomp pedal was a great idea, and having the parallel signal paths just be the dry guitar and then the phase 90 flanger going sort of parallel. I think that's kind of a cool idea. It kind of mellows things out a little bit. All right, so today we're going to do, like I was saying, the echo, and what I proposed trying is to add another switch, right? Another switch here that would, in a sense, help turn this sort of setup, these 2 pedals in conjunction, right? Because this is a loop box for that, to turn this into a very primitive, early kind of loop pedal. So it can hold something in its memory bank and allow you to play along with it. But in this case, what we're holding in its memory bank will just be an E note, the bow that we're going to drop the pitch of and repeat with the pedal itself, and then we'll be able to sort of do a guitar change or do whatever it is while that's still going on, and then hit the buttons again and be out of there. So I think to make this sound better, like in terms of getting closer to that sound, you need a really strong sort of signal coming into the echo to be the one that is sort of being fed through the memory banks here. So you don't want it to decay at all. So what I was thinking about doing was having a quick hit two hit process here, whereby you would come in here and with the sort of like heel here and then toe up to hit the second pedal. And what that would do is bring the echo into the loop, and then almost immediately ground the input on the echo rec, which would just keep a very high sort of transient signal going through the memory banks that you can play with. And your guitar isn't going to be feeding it any more signal. It's not going to be confused. It's going to have a very stable sort of note of an E note to play around with. I think it's going to work. At least that's my theory, that it's going to work better that way. So we're going to try it. So I like to use these lighted sort of switches, which are kind of cool. So they have a little LED that lights up the ring around them. I think I get these from CE Distribution. And what you'd have then is the ability to not have to have an indicator light for on and off. It's on the ring. I just think it looks cooler. This indicator light at least tells me that the box has power, which I think is interesting or needed. So if you're doing troubleshooting, you know, oh, the reason why it's not working is the box doesn't have any power. So one of these switches, right, has 3 switches in it in a sense that are, double pole. So I'm going to dedicate one for switching the light on and off, and the other 2 I'm going to be using for signal switching. So it'll be like a double pole, double throw with a switched light. So that's sort of the idea there. I think it's kind of a good idea. So I think I remember what's in this box, because it's just a really simple, loop pedal with one of these switches in there. So I think I know what's in there. So I think we're just going to draw up a diagram of how it should work, and then we're going to open up the box and do the modifications of the pedal or the paddle. So let's start off. So what we're going to want to do is we have basically like some signals to deal with, right? So we have the guitar, right? So that's just sort of like your guitar input, right? And then you're going to have the loop, right? And this is the send. And then we're going to have this jack here is for the return. So these are jacks, right? In a sense, on that utility box. And then we're going to have like the output, I guess, here, right? So the pedal, right, the echo rec, let's say the echo would be here, right? So this is going in sort of like, into the echo pedal. And then the output is going to the phase 90. Okay? And the guitar obviously is from the guitar. So there we have that. Now we're going to put our 2 switches in, right? So these are our 2 switches. The top one will be the ground, right? Because you want a heel toe. So this will be the turn on the loop. This one will be the grounding. All right, so we're going to put in our poles. There's 3 sets of 3 for 9 poles. Okay, and then we have on the side, we have the lamps, right? The input voltage, or rather what you would use to light up the lamps, positive, negative. And if I remember right, this should be positive. That's negative. But I don't think we're gonna worry about the power switching for the indicator lights in this diagram. I think it'll just get too messy and confusing. So we'll just kind of draw up our signal switching. So for this, we're gonna just put our hots right from our jacks. So these are our jack hots. Just know that they're grounded at chassis on the other side, but we're not, for purposes of this diagram and simplicity, we're not going to put in the grounds for this. Where the grounds are necessary for the signal, we'll put them in, because they will be, but know that these are all grounded on the chassis. So there you have that, right? They're not floating or anything goofy like that. All right, so let's start. So the first thing we wanted to do, right, would be to sort of bring in the guitar signal into the loop box, and we'll just sort of like make this switch into a good loop pedal. So we'll make this one here. This one here is going to be for for switching the light on and off. So we're going to sort of disregard those. So let's bring in the whatchamacallit, the guitar signal, and make a simple loop, right? Because this is something that pretty much, you should be able to do with your eyes closed almost at this point in time, right? So you have your guitar going in here. You either want it to go to the send or bypass the pedal entirely and go out, right? So in this case, on one side, we're going to send it to the send, right? So that makes a lot of sense. But actually, we want to ground this end, so that doesn't make sense. I've already messed up. Let me get another piece of paper. We're doing it live. See, I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry. So guitar. Sorry for wasting time here. You know what, this might be actually a good thing, because we could just eliminate the whatchamacallit. We can eliminate the lamp switching section, right? For turning on and off the lamp. So we can simplify things a little bit here for the purposes of the diagram, right? And, you know, it's hard to think and talk at the same time. It really is. So the switches work this way. These are the center poles, and they switch left and right, okay? Just so that you know that. So it's either going to here or it's going to here. Same with this one. All right, so let's again start with our simple. You should be able to do this with your eyes closed, as I said. But, right. So normally, this would go up to here, but we want to be able to ground out that switch right there. So for that to work, we don't want to ground out the guitar. We just want to ground out the input. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to choose this pole, all right, to come to here, right? So this is going to be for our send into here. So when this is active into bringing the loop pedal, your guitar signal goes to here, which comes up, which goes to here, and then which goes to the send, right? And once again, we're going to put the echo pedal right here. E, C, H, O, echo, right? So the send goes into the input, return goes into the output. Make sense? So out and then in on your pedal. So again, guitar going into here, switched this way, it'll come up to here. And if it's in what we're going to call ready mode, right, not grounded mode, it'll come straight over to the send. In non-ready mode, we're going to put a ground over here. Okay, so if this is in this position, it grounds out the send input, but not the output so far. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to, are we choosing inputs or outputs? What's easy to work with first? All right, so let's go with, let's complete the loop box real simply. So we're going to want to deal with the output. Now the output would be coming off of the center again, right? So we can choose which it wants to be connected to. So in this case, we have one way, it's send, right? It's active, so it's going up to here, feeding the echo, and then the echo is coming back down to return, right? And then the return is going out. So I hope that makes sense to you, right? Guitar coming in, switch to here, coming up over to here, switch to here, coming over here to the send, into the echo, out of the echo, back to here, connected to here, and then to the out. So that effectively brings in our echo unit. Now, if we want to bypass our echo unit, we'll be on this side, right? So now the guitar would come in, it would be switched to here, which then is jumped by a wire, right? So this is a jump wire right here, right? To this pole, which then would go to the output. So we've bypassed the echo unit. Perfect. So that works great. So now what we want to be able to do is we turn this on. That's all good. And then we want to bring this into the ground situation, right? We've done this side. So right here, do we want to have parallel signal paths, or do we want it just to cut out? I think well, let's start with it just cutting out entirely. I think that cutting out the guitar entirely. I think that'll work. We don't want to play over it. We just want to sort of cut it out and mute the guitar input. Let's try that first. All right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to want to, we're going to want to probably play with it too. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take the guitar input signal, right, and we're also going to bring it over to this pole. So in a sense, the guitar input is going into two places, all right? And then we're going to have it, the output also going to here. So when this is grounded out, right, or in the ground out, the guitar input will be connected to here, which is connected to here, right, which then goes straight to the out. So we'll be able to play along with whatever looping through the echo without feeding information to the echo, right? So now we have the primitive kind of like loop box. All right, so let's go over one more time and make sure that this is going to work correctly. So if we're in this mode, okay, where these are the connected switches, guitar comes in, signal comes in, it goes to here, this is connected to nothing, so in a sense it's hanging in space, which is fine, no problems there, doesn't need to be connected to anything. So guitar connected to here, up to here, up to here, to here, to here, to the send, into the echo, to the out, coming to here and back. This is also connected, but it's not connected to anything. So the output is hanging right there. So no issues, there won't be any noise problems with that. It's just kind of like a little extra wire in a sense. And being shielded, it won't act like an antenna or anything like that. It'll be fine. If we go into the other mode, right, where we ground this out, so to speak, let me put, right, so we're like this now, right? Let me see if I can get my fingers out of the way here so we can show. So guitar comes into here, right? Goes up to here, to here, to here, and out, so you can play your guitar unaffected through the echo. It also is then grounding out just the input side, but not the return side, right? So the return, just had to stop. I had experienced a slight brain meltdown there. And I was like, what the hell am I doing wrong here? And I'm like, there's something wrong. I'm like, no, there's not anything wrong. It's this switch is still this way, right? Because it's this way and then that way. So, all right. So it still feeds, because I was like, the return's gone now. Now the return's only gone when you step on this a second time. So first this is on, and then you immediately switch to that. So we're fine. So this is the diagram that's going to work, right? So let me just get something small here so we can sort of show what's going on. I'm going to take this piece of paper. You're sort of blocking them out differently, right? They're running opposite to one another. So let me grab another little piece of, yeah, that'll work. Just so we could show the signal path one more time. That was really weirding me out. I think I'm getting old. The brain froze and was like, what? Something is wrong here. And I just needed a second to figure it out. And I didn't want to freeze on camera, but I did. Okay, so, all right, we're going through the affected. So the guitar signal, we hit the E, we hit this button. It's in this position now. So it's feeding up for a split second, right, into the send, and then out from the echo and into the output, right? So that's for that second. As our foot goes forward, it's going to switch and it's going to go to this mode, all right? So now they're opposite of one another. So so what's going to happen now is that the input to the echo rec is going to be grounded, but it's still going to maintain that E note through here at a very high level, right? And it's going to feed it out to this point. But at the same time, right at the same time, let me turn this around here. At the same time, right, these two are connected, which is the guitar and the output. So you're going to get both this return from the echo and this out. Now this is where we may need the phase pedal. Who knows? We'll find out. But this is how it would work. And then when you go and once more step on rocket to turn it off, when you've got your next guitar plugged in, so to speak, or you're ready to go to the next song, so to speak, it would get switched back to this way, right? So now you would have, just a straight up connection between your input and output, and it would bypass your loop. Okay, I think we're good to go there. So the next thing is going to be to open up the pedal and hope that it looks something like this. Because if it doesn't, we got to make another diagram. And quite frankly, I can't take it. Ah, that was nuts. Pretty soon I'm just going to be a babbling moron. Not that I'm not already, but I'm just going to be much worse. All right, so we're going to disconnect our pedal here from the board, right? And we're going to open it up. We're going to look at the spaghetti mess that is in here. Because believe me, I have not applied myself to this box because it's really just a tester. So just getting it done is good. And in something like this, in an amplifier, you can't just spaghetti wire, right? You just can't mess around in an amplifier and throw wires all over the place and think it's going to work or sound good if it does work at all. That's just not going to happen. You have to be very diligent all the time. There's no testing it and throwing wires all over the place and seeing what happens, because that's going to sound different than if you wire it, in a neater fashion or in a way that doesn't create a lot of RF communication that you don't want and eliminate some that you do, right? But in this case, we're dealing with pretty much just passive signals, right, that aren't listening and transmitting all throughout the box. It's just, the same signal, just sort of wired all around. It doesn't communicate. You don't have a big problem with RF. The only issue you have with RF and pedals and things like that is if the box is not shielded, and then outside sort of RF can get into your wiring. So RF does play a role in pedal boards and wiring and things like that, but it's not the same as an amplifier. One is internal, the other one is external. Obviously an amplifier can have external problems too if you neglect, proper wiring as well as proper grounding. So now we're just going into left field here. All right, so we're opening this guy up. All right, so this is the interior. I mean, it's not ugly, I think it's good, but it's more quick and dirty than something that I would normally do. All right, so I got to get. Let's see how we can just put this. I don't know. Anyway, so we got to put a switch in there, which we already have our hole for. So we're going to remove our number 1 sticker, which is a shame because I liked it. I spent hours making this, and now it's gone. Number 1. All right, so I'm going to just, because we might still need it, so I'm just going to tape it over here on the bench so I have it for later. Now we're going to get our switch put in. This switch is actually, I think it's a double color one. I just want to use a single one. So let me see what I got. Ooh, there's a red one. We're using that. Some red ones. These are non-illuminated. We also got some. We got some of these cool lumberjacks. Okay, I'm gonna need you to wire this pedal box in a manner which would make it a loop pedal, and that would be great. Yeah. These were actually, I bought a bunch to make the Eventide pedal. The Eventide pedal board. Here's another one. But we're going to save that Eventide pedal board nonsense for later. That's a fillet to Danish. Alright. so I'm going to have to widen this hole out. All right, because I'll show you how these are all constructed. And I'm going to need a Allen wrench. An Allen key. I think it's the tiny one. To get this here switch top off. There we go. So we'll put this aside. And we pull this off and drop everything on the floor. Now you can see on this, the LEDs are all around this ring here. All right, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many of them. And this nylon type ring sits right on them. All right, and that nylon, it has some mysterious fiber optic qualities which make the ring light up like, you know, it's a spaceship, and I like spaceships, so that's what we're gonna use. All right, so I got a unibit over here. Let me get my drill. Got the battery, drill. All right, it works. Something works. It's a miracle. Okay. Make sure everything's out of the way so we don't just beat up our wires. Now I'll start drilling. I think it's 3 steps maybe to get to the bottom of the Tootsie Roll. One more. Okay, let's see if that's it. Oh, it's close. I don't know if it's 4 steps. I think that's too much. I think this might be that we just got to make it a little bit like a 3.5. There we go. 3.5 it is. So we got our chips here. So I'm going to turn on the vacuum and vacuum up my chips. Okie doke. So there's our ring. Flip her over. And we're going to orientate the thingy-madoodle in the same way. Now that's nice. It actually fits in there correctly without smashing into other stuff. So we'll put this on. Get it in the right sort of location and everything. There we go. Grab our and there we go. Okay. Now we can put our switch top back on. It has a little detent in there. That lines up with the Allen screw, set screw. So you want to get those lined up together, which I'm not seeming to do until now. Okay. All right. So the object, as stated, would be to put the Allen wrench away so we don't lose it. All right. Would be to, another one fell out. I'm just having all kinds of wins today. So the object is to kind of go like that. And then that's putting our special echo effect into play. And then now you're out. Ready to play. You really got me. Okay, so there we are. There's our stuff. So now we got some wire here. We got our screwdriver, which we don't need right now. And we need our diagram. Give me back the diagram. So let's see if this actually looks right. Comparing. Where's the input? Is that the send or what is that? All right, so that's the send. No, wait, that's the input. Okay, I had to check that out. So that's our input. Oh, it's labeled. Input, okay. Input, and then that's the send, right? Yes. That's the return, correct. That's the output, correct. Okay, so that looks good. Now we'll go through the interior, make sure everything's sort of wired up the same. This is jumped, this is jumped. That's the output, that's the output. Return, return. That should be the send. It is the send, so we need to modify that connection. And the return is to right here, right? All right, so I remembered it correctly, but there's really only one way to do it, that I do it. There's only really one way I do it, not only one way to do it. I do it the same way every time, and that's the way I do it. Got to wind this up soon. All right, so we got our soldering iron. So what we're going to do, all right, is we're going to take our guitar input. That goes to 2 places, but our send is moved. All right, so we're going to unsolder from the send, like so. And we're going to bring our send over to this lug over here. So we're going to try to make it neat because, you know, it's nice, but we're not trying to make this thing like, you know, brilliantly neat, right? This is not going to be a high watt in here. I'm going to light a fire right now, but I got to turn on this light so I can see what I'm doing. This is going to blow up the camera a little bit, but I sort of need to see. There we go. I'm going to blow everybody up right now by saying high watt wiring has no place in amplifiers. Flame on. Okay, so that's there. So that's correct. The return is correct. So now we need to add a ground from this lug and the send to there. All right, so let me get another bit of white wire here. It's kind of fun making stuff again. So I never like to just like make shit just because, you know, and I don't like making videos for the sake of making videos. I really don't. And I gotta say, this is not like a content creator channel. It's just not. It's just me being an idiot. That's all it is. That's all it is me being an idiot and making stuff that entertains me and that I have an idea for and I want to see what happens. That's all it is. And if you guys are into watching it while I'm doing it, I'm into doing it. And I'm just going to put it up regardless. If there's 5 people watching or 50 people watching or whatever, don't care. If one person enjoys it, good. But this is sort of like, you know, it's not, I am not a YouTuber. This is not my goal to become a YouTuber. I have no desire to be involved in that nonsense. So, I am amp tech, amp designer, crazy person. There we go. Now we're going to put in the ground for grounding the send jack. You may think, oh, well, it's not going to work much. It's just the same as turning your guitar volume down. That's all it is. Only it's not connected to your guitar, so your guitar keeps going. Like the Energizer Bunny. Put that there. Man, my eyesight's just getting worse. Don't get old if you can avoid it. Not that old. But things don't work as well. There we go. As they used to sometimes. Look at that. See, I missed it entirely. That's stuff I would normally make fun of. There we go. Alright, so the easiest place to ground this sucker would be on this here jack. So we're just going to ground it there. That may be a little too much lead, so we'll trim off a little bit. Tin her up. So after this next run of marshmallows, right? So you're like, why isn't he building marshmallows? It's like, as usual, parts. So I got in all the transformers, finally. Thanks to Hayboer. Thanks to Dawn. Thanks to Arlen. Thanks to all of them over there for getting them to me. I got some cabinets coming. But, you know, you gotta get all these things. I got some panels. One of the panels didn't quite look right to me. It was like the laser may not have enjoyed working that day, may have been cranky. So they got to get redone. Because I want the stuff to really look good for everybody, you know. It's like, why not make everything as good as you can? That's always, you know, that's why I build things myself for people, is because I want to make it as good as I can for people. All right, so now the guitar is also going to here, the input. So we're going to take another lead from here. We're almost done. That was funny when my brain froze. It was like, what are you doing? I'm telling you, you have no idea how hard it is to talk about what you're doing and do it at the same time. To like design on the fly in front of people and tell them what you're doing, because your brain is involved in too many different activities at the same time. It becomes confused, and then you're like, what the hell am I even doing? Am I even speaking English anymore? So that's fun when that happens. And doing signal switching is something you got to think about a little bit, right? You got to kind of have your brain sort of attentive. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff, what you're doing, but still, it's sort of like rubbing your head and your tummy together. I've never been good at that. Today we're drinking seltzer. No pink drink today. It's a little bit late in the day for the pink drink, and I don't want to be up all night. All right, and now we're going to bring the output to here. So there to there. And then we have our, there we go. So one more wire, and I believe we are done. Well, we're not done. We still have to do the, whatchamacallit, the LED. But a lot of the hard work there we go. All right, so there is our wiring complete. All right, so next thing would be, all right, so which way do we want the light to come on? I'm going to say when it's in ground position, right? Because we want it to sort of indicate that everything's ready to go on the board when everything's not lit. So both lit, we're in dive bomb mode. Both unlit, we're in normal mode. All right, so that would mean this side, right, would have the LED. So, all right, so we're just going to run a lead then. This is our dropping resistor right here, right? So we used what? 820 ohm resistor in this case, so it'll be nice and bright. So we're going to bring a lead from here to here, and then we're going to bring lead from here to the positive. Correct. All right, so positive is being switched, is that right? There's multiple DC jacks on this because I always like to put a few extra on there so you can power a pedal that's next to it if the current isn't too high. It sort of makes it a more utilitarian type of box in my estimation. All right, so let me get some red. Oop. All right, we're using black. Never mind. So I want to keep the color coding about the same. All right, so now we can just sort of bring this around to the side here. Let's bring it up top. There's no problem with running a little DC across there. It's not going to give us any problems. All right. Now we just have to remember which side we want this thing to work out on. So these are working in opposites basically. So we want to have this side connected to there. Okay, so first we bring that in there. Let's get this out of the way so we don't burn that wire. That looks good. All right, so we're going to go from I just want to make sure really quickly of the correct polarity here. So we'll just test it real quick. So we got a little jack here so we can power this guy up. All right, so okay. Now we're just going to measure. Where's my multimeter? Where's my meter at? It's getting late. All right, let's see. All right, so this is the positive. All right, good. That's what we wanted. All right, so that is going to go to the positive connection. So let me get a little bit of this here wire. Well, looking at this, it kind of looks like it would be good to do the negative connection first, so you don't have to get the soldering iron into an awkward position. So we'll just make sure that's good. Yep, that looks right. Okay. So this is going to have to go over to here. Quick snip. There we go. Nope. We did not get it. Okie doke. And then we just run a quick lead from there to there. Get a little more tin on here. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. I think they're pre-tinned. They're almost acting like they're not. Now we got it. You know what? I don't know that they're pre-tinned. It's so hard to see. Let me just put a little tin on there. Okay, that's tinned. Good. And then we just run it over to the lug next to it. Nice. And that's it. We are done with it. All right. So let's just give it a quick test with the power just to make sure that the lamp is lit. There we go. All right, so that's going to be like the bank. Should work. All right, so I think that's good for today. We're probably at an hour. And next video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to test this out upstairs with the marshmallow and see how it all works. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.